It's a shame not many people get to really drive a CRX anymore. And I made this in 1997. So I just see how it works. We have this guy over here, brought his latest creation.
That's right.
You want to show me real quick before we
you
go for a quick drive? Yeah.
Oh.
I want to pop the hood.
Yeah, pop the hood.
Actually, no, you pop the hood and I'll look under it.
Okay, you can. We call that the service now.
It's actually got a lot of room, hasn't it?
Mm-hmm. Check an oil spot.
Don't check the oil.
Yeah.
Just change it.
That's pretty much it.
You measure right here. You do a real nice hole saw, then you put the cap back in, and then you put it through the hole.
Perfect.
That is cool. So check out his channel. You do have you done a full how-to, or are you still in the midst of doing a full how-to?
No, it's been put out.
That feels great.
But feel how smooth it is. It doesn't have excessive vibration.
No. Is it OEM mounts?
No, it's Osborne, but I didn't change the oil pump.
Okay.
So it's got the balance shafts in it still.
Okay. That makes a big difference.
It does. So everybody's like, rip that oil pump. Yeah, it's good.
Staying for a quick drive. I'm not going to beat on it because I'm going to try and film and show you guys. But this engine is super smooth. This is a fun little car. I had two of these back in the day. I don't know if you guys followed me back then. About 2009-ish, 2010, I think, right after I sold the KRZ. I bought one of these with the intention to do a K-swap. Same year as I had my son. I really didn't have the money to do it, so I drove it for about a year and a half and never ended up swapping it. Feels good. It does rev hang a little bit, but like Mark said, it makes the engine quite a bit smoother. You don't really feel the engine. It's got a very nice OE feel to it. Notice aftermarket mounts. What a great daily. Perfect little setup. So follow Mark and he will show you how to do this. If it's something you're interested in, he'll tell you which is the best parts to use, which is the best year to get, and a few little tips and tricks about it. But very, very useful car and very, very roomy.
Oh, I'm gonna park it next to the dumpster, you know?
Keep it out of frame.
Esther usually hates them.
I like it. So what are you gonna do? Are you gonna keep it, or are you gonna build another one?
I'm always building something.
I know, that's part of the fun, isn't it?
I'm gonna build something next, either another fit or.
Would you do the same thing again, or are you gonna do something different?
I'd like to try to get the K20 done. Now that I know what to do.
Something about that torque though.
I know.
K24 torque is like V6 kind of power.
It gets down for sure. It's fun.
All right, so if he does sell it, go ahead and hit him up.
I'll trade him for this.
He probably will go for it, Mark. So he's kind of like us. He likes to build cars. So if he sells it, hit him up. What's the year?
This is a 09.
09, okay. And K24 A2, I assume?
Z3.
Z3.
It's got one of these.
No steering wheel.
No steering wheel.
Steering wheel don't come with it. He's keeping that.
2011 TSX engine.
So if you have a CRX, get a hold of this guy. He might take it off you, and he might give you this K24 fit. If you like the content, don't forget, hit the subscribe button. This is coming up on an upcoming video, 2023 Civic Type R. It's getting an exhaust modification. I think you're going to be intrigued. 1991 CRX SI. We built this. It's on the channel. I'll put a link to it. But this has a V18C5 hydraulic transmission. If you're not familiar with the CRX, it was cable actuated transmission, which is this one right here. You see the big cable following along the fuel rail, and it goes in here. So we did this conversion, which is a device that bolts the transmission and it allows the cable to activate the transmission. The downside to this, between the friction of the cable and the friction of this device down here, makes the clutch a little heavy and not that easy to modulate. So back in 1999, I actually built a hydro conversion for one of these cars, which I had on my car. And we've done a few since, including our white CRX. I'll link that in the video too, but we did a hydro conversion on that. That's what we're doing to this. Engine, transmission is going to stay. We're just going to change it to a full hydro. So if you want to trip down memory lane, I made this in 1997. This bolted to the transmission. This was for my CRX, and I kind of forced myself to build this by buying a brand new Type R transmission at the time, which was a lot of money. They're even more money now, but brand spanking new. I bought it, put it in the car, and then said, okay, I've got to figure out a way to make it work. This bolted, as you can kind of see, self-explanatory. The cable came through here, went on here. This has an oil light bearing in there. This was the original one, the very first one. As you see, it's kind of cut and changed and shaped and played with it until I got it working. Once I got it working, I basically made a template from this and made a nicer version. I think I made about 10 of them. In fact, Esther had one on her car all the way until we sold it. It was on the car for about 3 years. There was a Heim shunt on here. It went across and it attached to the shift linkage, similar to the one I'm going to show you. But this, I would say, is probably the first one that was ever done, this, as far as I know. But there it is. It's going to go in the LHT museum. The clutch was a little heavy before, but now it's got some miles on it. It's not terrible, it's just not fantastic. It's a little heavy, and like I say, the engagement, it's a little hard to navigate, know exactly where it's going to engage. So the last trip to the Dragon, I took our white CRX, and I actually ran into a Honda engineer. If you're watching this, go ahead and put in the comments, because it was really interesting talking to you. But you were part of the pedal development and assembly for Honda for many years, and I chit-chatted to you, and you said you saw our hydro conversion and you was kind of impressed with it, which was a huge compliment. And I think I got you to sit in the car and feel it. You was quite impressed, which was, again, a huge compliment. But this is the slave cylinder, this is the master, this is a reservoir out of an EG. We're probably going to rebuild that bracket. But basically how this works is this supplies fluid into here. Rather than being a cable which has friction, this is essentially hydro. So it's got hydraulic fluid. Think of this as like a syringe pushing a syringe. So there's very, very little friction because you've got fluid motion. So as you squish this together, you're forcing high pressure fluid into this and operating the clutch this way. So it's much, much easier to press, less friction. Almost every new car these days, if it's manual, has a hydro. This is the pedal assembly at the CRX. This is your brake pedal, this is your clutch, this is the actuation right here. This is the fulcrum pivot. This is where your cable would be around. There is a bar that goes around here, attaches to the cable. So when you push the pedal with your foot this way, this is pulling the pedal. So we need to turn that actuation into a push action. This is outside the firewall, the cable. This is our CRX. We have our slave cylinder down there. The blue line is a hydraulic line. The blue line was the only one we could get at the time. It goes through there, and then the reservoir is right there. That is the line going into the master. So it looks very OE, looks very clean. Let's go ahead and take a look on the inside and see if I can show you what went on in here. But the clutch pedal, if I can get under there, get past the wiring. That wiring is for the alarm. You can't really see. It's pretty tucked up there. There you can see a bit of it. If you see that, some of the bracketry that we use to support it, that really is to stop that master cylinder moving. I don't know how much you can see up there. Anyway, this is how the bracket worked. It bolted like this. The cable went onto here. So what would happen is this would pull upwards. It'd be connected to this via basically a bell crank. This is said bell crank. This would pull this would pull the clutch fork right there and operate the clutch. So you had a lot of friction going on here. You had obviously the cable, friction here, and then of course this, the way this would operate is that bolt would be pushing into the little dimple on the shift fork right there. So it worked. I mean, it's a very, very simple system. It looks very familiar. In fact, I'll talk about that in a different video, but this is what's coming off. I figure now's a good time to talk about these pedal buttons. So this is the switch where it has a pedal button right there. This here is the clutch, so it releases that clutch for your safety start. Somebody's replaced this right here. It's basically like one of the body clips. The reason that Honda put the pedal button here is so when it slams into that switch there, it has some kind of cushion. It doesn't damage this switch because this has obviously electrical components in here. This is a little plunger piece. These will shatter, especially on the brake. If you hit the brake and come off the brake real hard, the brake has a little bolt right here. Somebody's replaced right there. So you see this. If you let off the brake, that bolt slams in there. Again, you've got shock going into the switch. It will damage it. So we're going to replace that little bolt there that was in there. The pedal button is also to make it more quiet, so it's not a metal on metal click. Master is going to point this way, away from the firewall. I've already drilled this in the right spot and made a brass bushing to fit in there, and that way it's not going to rattle. It's going to be nice and tight. We'll put some grease on there too. But it takes all of that slop out the pedal. I don't know if you've ever driven a car where the pedal clicks. It drives you bonkers. In fact, my Civic Type R, brand new, as soon as I got in it, I pressed the brake pedal, it made a tiny click. That was one of the things I was going to do to my car, is to take their bushing out and build a specific tight bushing in there, but I never kept the car long enough. Anyway, now we're going to build a bracket. So I just see how it works. This is why nobody really wants to go after your wiring guy, especially when they do something like that. I don't know how many alarms are in there.
It looks like at least 3.
Yeah. So it's like, we don't want to touch that. We don't want to disturb it. We just want to make sure the wires don't interfere with what we put in, because one of them was wrapped around the gas pedal a few times. So now we're going to kind of line that up the way it was without disturbing it. Plug the dash back in, which that is one of the wires to the dash right there, and there's the other one. Ready? Yeah. Check out the clutch engagement is.
About midway up.
Is it like middle of the way? Is it nice and smooth?
Yeah.
Beautiful. Does it need adjusting? Is it good?
I think it's good. So it's got our free play and it goes about middle road, so I think we're good.
Okay. All right, good. I remember when these cars first came out, and I think I bought my first one in 1994. It was the first generation. Love these cars ever since. So I'll do a quick test drive with this, just make sure it goes through the gears nice. The clutch definitely engages nice, and it's smoother. There's less friction. Don't make a gritty feeling between the cable and that mechanical part. It's softer, it's easier to press.
I'm headed to the bottom of the bottle. I've been drowning, I've been floating away. Every other dollar that I got, and then I probably went it away. So
we have a storm that's heading this way. It's a real thin band. I don't know why it's called an El Nino storm or something. But it's been windy, it's getting steadily windier. I'll show you on radar here in a minute when it's getting closer. George is going to go get his car and move it over here, so when it really comes down, it doesn't have as far to go. They take the chain off so it doesn't have to run and try and jump it and slip. Alright, so we're moving stuff around real quick. There is some really bad weather coming in. They just took a couple of tornado warnings. I mean, it's getting dark quick. We're going to pull the cars in just in case we have hail. Last time this happened, we had like hail size of quarters, so we're going to pull George's car in. This S2000 is here. We're doing a valve adjustment and a shift rebuild, and then we're going to do a tune. He purchased the Honda Flash Pro. Now this was the Flash Pro that we're used to seeing. This is the new Flash Pro Mini. I don't know if you guys have seen this. I'm going to unbox it and show you it and zoom in so you can see actually how tiny this thing is. It is incredibly small. Valve adjustment is done on this one, of course, with a new gasket kit and grommets and seals, something you should always do. Now we're going to do the shift rebuild kit and then get ready for tuning. All right, air temperature is 69 degrees, actually quite chilly here in Florida, waiting for the Water temperature to stabilize, want it to be at 175 to 180, somewhere around there. And then I'll kick the fans on. We'll do a couple of baseline runs, see where our starting point is, and then we'll tune and see if we can make some power. Here's an 06 car. First thing you gotta do is turn the VSA off. Light comes on, turn the brake off. We're gonna bring it up to 4th gear and do our run. That way we'll get our baseline run. We'll see where we're at. Be interested to see where this one is compared to mine, because I believe mine dyno's a little low. It's I can't remember what it did. We'll find out. Let me record this run just so I've got some data. Ready and go. Get ready for VTEC. VTEC's at 59. Of course, the tack is never that accurate. Always seems like it takes forever. Pretty normal through here. A big lean hump right here, right after VTEC. VTEC's at 59. It's showing you right there a big jump, and it's going lean, and then it's coming back around. Then it gets extra ridge towards the top. So let me see what we can do. We'll cut back to this one after a few runs dyno tuning. Ready? Just want to share with you something that we see from the car, and to see, let's see, you can feel the sound of it. I'm just going to record this run and give it a go. You ready? And go. See if it sounds any crisper. See if it goes through the RPM any faster. Alright, love that run. Let's do a little bit of comparison right here. Alright, got George on the sticks now. He just had to make a quick errand. Maybe you can get a bit more power out of it. Maybe I'm not pushing the gas down all the way. I think we did that to a friend of ours' car, didn't we? Yeah. Alright, you ready? Let me record this. We got a sound from over here. Alright, hit it. I want to listen to the motor. Just going to get some drivability feel from it, just make sure it feels nice and crisp. Last time I was on this road, I was driving a little scooter up and down here. It's faster than walking. Right now, it is 11 miles an hour. So look out for that video. We are going to do more on the Moto Compacto. I know you think I'm probably crazy. I probably am, but you know, it's fun. That's what I like to do. Trying to find a way to get paid to have fun. It sounds pretty crisp. It sounds like it goes through the RPMs pretty well. If you haven't seen the video on our car, we have been working on a naturally aspirated package to keep the car basically OEM plus, but make some decent power all the way through the mid-range. So part of driving these cars is mid-range, because it's something they suffer from. If you've ever driven an S2000 and never driven anything else, you'll probably think it's the fastest thing in the world. As soon as you drive something else, you realize it has no mid-range power at all, unless you're on the twisty roads. So that's what we've been working on, trying to get the most mid-range usable power. I mean, they are decently quick, but the mid-range power is what makes them feel so much more fun and engaging, which is what we've been working on. Part of our whole package. It's not just the header, it's the intake, the exhaust, the gear, the overall feel of the car we're trying to improve. And I think we've done a pretty good job. I'm really happy with the car. It is very quiet, isn't it? That's one of the things I was doubting the power if it was just a plugged up cat or plugged exhaust, but it's got plenty of airflow. It's just not a real high horsepower one. It's this car with wheel bearing issue, mainly this side right here, but we're going to replace both rears. We're going to do bearings and hubs, because often the hubs get damaged on these cars. We'll show you what it looks like here in a minute. Not the most scientific test, but when your car is up in the air, you have no weight on the wheel. Kind of bang the tire. Kind of hear that. again, it's not the most scientific test. Sometimes when you grab the wheel and you rock it back and forth, you can feel a little bit of play. This has it, but not a whole lot. A little bit there. You can hear that? You can kind of hear it rattle. These are the new bearings. So this bearing actually slides on this hub. We're going to change the hub at the same time. There is often, when you take the old ones out, this gets very corroded and the inner bearing will stick on there. We can get them off with some heat and a few tricks, but it so often damages the surface, so it's a good idea to do them both at the same time. We'll show you what it looks like when it comes off. You don't have to. We often freeze these, which will just shrink them just a little bit, and it'll make the interference a little bit further away from sliding in here. You obviously have to press them in, but it's just one of those little things. It does help. It's not an absolute must, but if you have the access to a freezer. I know you guys use your home appliances for car parts all the time. Just don't tell your wife. Don't tell my wife, but I do it too. I once baked some Insight headlights in a brand new oven, and it smelled like plastic for weeks. And I just said, maybe it's just because it's a new oven, that's what they do. yeah, that wasn't fun.
Out. Broke off in the cup.
Really? All right, this one's done. George's gonna go test drive it, just make sure everything is happy. Just double checked everything and torqued everything up to spec. The back calipers were actually a hair loose, so they might have been rattling a little bit, but the bearings were definitely toast on this one. This is the next car to come in. This is the bearing right here. The inner race comes out and stays on the hub. But you can see how bad those hubs were right there. I mean, they're very, very rusty. So that is another reason why you change the hubs, because that will often not come out here. Also, the hubs now are thicker than these. They're a little bit heavier duty. So there you go. Hubs and bearings on that S2000.